The march on Quel'Danas has triggered the last Titan. So we played through the end of the raid, right? Full clearing that shit, easy mode, of course, you know. When you got me tanking for you, it's gonna be a successful raid. That's a given. But we saw the ending cinematic, big moment. If you haven't seen it yet, maybe you shouldn't watch this video. But pretty cool stuff happened. If you're into some of these characters, maybe you missed some of the characters that did show up again. But overall, the ending cinematic did leave us wondering what happens next. We're taking an L. What does this mean? Well, it looks like Bellular maybe figured it out. Let's check this video out.
The finale of World of Windrunners 12.0 has finally dropped. Do you know what? It was all going so well. Not for us. For Xal'atath. She dominated her way to the top, subverted mortals, devoured void lords, and tortured Illyria at the pinnacle of the Void Spire, where she tore a Naru from Illyria using the Black Blade and locked all of her plan into place, because she then used the energy of that Naru to corrupt the Sunwell, leading to the march on Quel'Danas. It really did look like we had but a fool's hope. But we cut our way through, we fought the big fight, and then, at the peak of her glory, Xal'atath just walked away. Why did she walk away? Well, the answer is one word: Sylvanas. The most spicy of the Windrunner sisters is back, and she is back with...
This was interesting. I don't know, the Windrunner chicks have a way of surprising Xal'atath. I guess the last time that I remember seeing Xal'atath, you know, get surprised like this, right? She's kind of shocked here. You can see her face behind the arrow smoke. Was when Illyria broke the Dark Heart. Like, that moment was shocking to her. She wasn't expecting it. And then this moment, she says it herself. She's like, I'll be honest, I hadn't calculated for you. You know, she drops that line where she's like, oh, okay, Sylvanas is here. And then she leaves. Okay, so those are the two moments that I think we've caught Xal'atath off guard a little bit, which does I think it's kind of nice for her character, right? That we're not getting like a Zoval, I know all, and you guys are a bunch of peasants kind of attitude from her. She makes plans. Sometimes the plans work, sometimes they don't. So she's very human, I guess you can say, in her character. So this moment, yeah, it was cool. Did I want to see Sylvanas again? No, I don't really care about her. But yeah, here she is. She's back.
Her sisters is back, and she is back with a warning. And if that sounds familiar, you may be flashing back to another raid cinematic, Sepulchre of the first ones. But this isn't Jailer-style bait. It's actually a direct reference to the finale of the World of Souls saga. It's one that Blizzard set up in patch 11.2.7. And you see, in The Last Titan, we are going to face down the Titan conspiracy that stretches back canonically to the beginning of time, and for the sake of our player characters, back to, let's just say to make it easy, Wrath of the Lich King-ish days and a bit of vanilla background. And at BlizzCon, Chris Metzen told us we'd be unraveling this Titan conspiracy, and with Sylvanas pulling the trigger on that storyline, it is time to ask, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, what the hell did happen?
I just recapped it at lightning speed, but seriously, Xal'atath was kinda winning. It seemed like she had us. But then, of course, all of this happened.
You Windrunners. You just don't know when to lay down and die.
Bam.
We Windrunners are just stubborn that way.
You? I honestly didn't factor for you.
Yeah, that comment right there is a giveaway, right? She's like, oh, shit, okay, Sylvanas is part of this now. It doesn't seem to scare her in any way, right? She's not like, oh, shit, my plans are ruined. It's just like, oh, okay, I got another piece on the chessboard I got to count for now.
Death comes for all, Xal'atath. Even your wretched kind.
See, that's a big moment there, because we all know, based on Xal'atath's little cinematic, right, where we see her childhood and everything, she reveals to Salhadar that her own endgame goal is just to live forever, right? There's just survival. That's what she cares about. So Sylvanas' little line about death comes for all, even your kind, is it's a direct shot at Xal'atath and her plans.
We'll finish this another time, perhaps.
That was Sylvanas, disgraced war chief of the Horde, stepping out of the Shadowlands to snipe one of Xal'atath's shoulder shinies. Yes, we did all see the same thing. So, if you're wondering what's going on, or maybe your mind is exploding with possibilities, here is what you need to know and understand. Midnight
The Void is scared of Sylvanas. Yes, that's true. We already know that. We had the Windrunner Sisters comic, if you guys remember that. If you ever read through it, it was like a short comic thing that Blizzard made. And Illyria's whispers from the Void in her head, we get like direct access to them, so we can hear what they're telling her. And specifically, when she's talking to Sylvanas and looking at Sylvanas, the Void is going insane inside of her head, telling her to kill Sylvanas. Kill Sylvanas. It's like it's worried about what she is. You know, it doesn't. I guess her, crossing the line of death multiple times and continually coming back bothers the Void in some way, which is weird because the Void likes chaos, and that seems like something that doesn't say dead. He seems chaotic, but the Void doesn't like her for whatever reason, and that was confirmed in that little comic.
It pretty much just entered the World Soul saga. That might sound strange, but think about it. Since the beginning of this expansion, we've been asking how Quel'Danas, how the Sunwell fits into this big World Soul saga arc. Well, as it turns out, Sylvanas pretty much just told us how, and the whole thing starts with this line from Chris Metzen.
And there, at Ulduar, you will bear witness to the return of the Titans to Azeroth. And there, you will uncover a vast conspiracy, one that stretches throughout the history of the world, one that will challenge
Chris is so good at
everything
this.
you think you know about the Titans, their intentions, and the true nature of Azeroth itself.
It began with the War Within, and it ends with a fight against the Titans in Northrend. But honestly, it actually began long ago. I'd say the one moment that really is clear is when we discovered Algalon the Observer in Ulduar. That's when it became clear the Titans were not necessarily our friends, and then later on in the War Within...
If you don't know the story, quick recap. We fight Algalon, we realize there's this re-origination chamber, essentially a button that will just wipe everything off the planet clean and kill everything, and that was when we realized, like, oh, we're not the Titans' greatest prize. They don't care about us. There's clearly something else that they like about Azeroth. We didn't know back then it was the World Soul. And they'd be willing to wipe us out in a second if they needed to. So that's the whole thing. That kind of took the Titans away from being like these all-seeing, all-loving, they're here to take care of us gods. And then they just became like, oh, well, we got to fend for ourselves because these Titans, they'll fuck us up if they have to.
We kind of learned that a lot of that Titan machinery is sort of brainwashing Azeroth a little bit. Fun stuff, and a conspiracy that has so fundamentally controlled the cosmos that we're now discovering it extends even to the Shadowlands, and that our theories about the afterlife being too ordered were in fact true. And
Right.
It seems that somehow the Titans are the ones responsible.
Yeah, nothing about this entire Ouroboros structure, I used to call it the sky dildo, nothing about this seemed natural. It's very weird. Yeah, it's so super orderly, of course. A lot of Titan influence. Now, I thought maybe a lot of this looks like First One's architecture, if you're just talking about the artistic style of it all. So I used to chalk it up to, well, maybe the First Ones are orderly beings too. But no, we're starting to hear now that it's actually the Titans. Is that a retcon? I don't know. Maybe Blizzard's just trying to get rid of Shadowlands and be like, actually, that whole thing we told you about Afterlife is it's fucking bullshit. Just delete this expansion. Or it could have been planned all along.
For a bunch of
Either way,
Shadowlands stuff.
it's clearly
Which in a
Titan
way shouldn't be
influence.
surprising. Just look at the Shadowlands. A lot of it, even in its art style, does look kind of Titanic. It also explains why the Shadowlands almost felt like a power plant fueled by souls. You know, why mortal souls, our anima, were used to power these weird, neatly built realms of the dead. It felt a bit strange.
Sam, the First Ones are the Titans. I don't think that's true. I don't think the First Ones are Titans. They made all the beings of the afterlife, but I don't know if they're Titans.
We saw the
Was that ever confirmed? I don't think so. I don't think the First Ones are even made of arcane like the Titans are. Titans are arcane beings. I don't think it was confirmed that the First Ones are the same.
anima flooding into Ouroboros and that it was going somewhere, but now it seems that it was kind of just channeling into the Titans' designs. And it's funny, because for such a short cinematic, Blizzard dropped an insane amount of lore. So to get a handle on it, we need to do two things. First, how did Midnight get us?
Oh, you're saying they did it under an alias of the First Ones. Okay, that makes sense. That could be it, surely. Yeah. Wasn't each leader of the challenge? Yeah, they were just big puppets. Yeah, they were. They were. I still don't understand quite how Sire Denathrius infiltrated that entire system. I don't know if there was, because to me there was like, oh, that was the jailer's responsibility, and he took it over, sent the jailer to the mall. The jailer was never supposed to be the mall guy. That was like a gig that he got put into because Sire Denathrius kind of took his spot, I guess. Or actually, the jailer was originally the arbiter. He was the ones, deciding which way souls go, and then that whole thing got fucked up. I think Shadowlands lore is just broken. If I'm being honest, I think it's just broken. Because supposedly the jailer was the arbiter, but the position of the arbiter was created by the Titans. So all the guys who currently exist, you got the Maldraxxus dude, the freaking the Winter Queen, everybody else, they're all just Titan constructs, including the jailer. But then somehow Sire Denathrius snuck the fuck in. How did the Titans not realize that they hadn't created Sire Denathrius? That whole theme just seems janky to me. Like, the one thing about Dreadlords, they don't mind control people. They just manipulate people. So how the fuck did he manipulate the Titans? I don't know. I guess it's a play that we'll never really get the full story on.
Here, what actually happened in this expansion to make this stuff?
Yeah, and then the Winter Queen's related to Elune somehow, right? How the fuck are the Titans related to Elune now? Maybe this is all just unfinished lore, or maybe Blizzard's just writing this as they fucking go, because Shadowlands really did fuck up a lot of shit.
Makes sense. And then second, what it means for the future. Because, believe me, Blizzard aren't just trying to solve Shadowlands lore here, they're basically using it to build one of the greatest conflicts that Warcraft has ever seen. Greatest in scale for Warcraft. Whether you think it's great or not, well, that's up to you.
Right.
Let's dive into how all this happened. So, the Voidspire devoured the last of the Vanguard of the Light, that was our previous raid, and with no option left but to listen to Arator, Lor'themar agreed that it was now time to call for outside help. And no, not from the Horde. Who knows what they're up to these days? But from a coalition Arator's been building since the War Within's epilogue. And that means it's time to reunite the elves. First, he goes to Belemeth. Chandris is on board and rallies the Sentinels, but Maiev is there to remind us that this is not the first time the Sunwell has threatened the world. That, in reality, elves, all elves, have this insane need for a font of power, and it keeps on ending in disaster. The main example being the Well of Eternity, which not only shattered the elves into their many different tribes, but also, well, sort of nearly destroyed the entire planet.
Right.
Oops. Now, on the political side, even putting aside how the Blood Elves are in the Horde, and that it was Sylvanas who burnt down Teldrassil, the Night Elves do technically owe Silvermoon one, and that's because Lor'themar personally defended Emirdrassil. So Chandris has no conditions on aid, though she does ask that, after all is said and done, can we not turn on the Sunwell again? Because it does seem to be a little bit risky. Well, that's a big ask for people who are, well, kind of addicted to their magical well of infinite power.
Taking away the crack from the crack
think about it. Meanwhile, back in Silvermoon, the Void Elves have already been defending the Sunwell, and the Silver Covenant are loitering about at the edge of the zone, unsure if they're really allowed to return home. And there's honestly so much to say about this, but the High Elves returning to Silvermoon is kind of a huge moment for the game's lore.
Cool questline.
And to help them do that, we picked up the Crown and Law Book of Anasternian. That's fairly huge. And the High Elves did acknowledge the brutality of the Purge of Dalaran, which really was quite something. So they showed some humility, and they returned home for the first time since the Third War. And with that being done and the tribes reunited, it was time to get marching.
Yes.
If you feel like you're missing bits of the story, this whole segment is for you, so let me go through how all of this went down and a bunch of the stuff that you've probably missed. So, the Sunwell was threatened, and the Light responded. The Light's vanguard appeared with the promise of being a hammer of justice ready to smite the Void. But it quickly became clear that the vanguard was kind of burning in the fires of their own power, their own faith, their own zeal. Turalyon accidentally wounds Arator, their commanders end up becoming paranoid lunatics, and when we finally assaulted what we thought...
I still don't know if... I mean, Lothraxion dying the way he did as a dungeon boss, spoiler if you haven't done the fucking dungeon, to me just seemed anticlimactic. I still think this guy's he was a Dreadlord of the Light. How are we not going to get the big reveal that he was actually a freaking liar this entire time and just working with the other Dreadlords / Sire Denathrius? I don't know if we're still going to get that, but yeah, there he is. Maybe he comes back. You know, Dreadlords can do that.
when we finally
died,
assaulted what we
right.
thought was Xal'atath's fortress, the Void Spire, they became light-blinded, and we had to put a few of them down. So the Light's vanguard were quite a failure, and the Void Spire they attacked turned out to be a reality drilling machine designed to funnel the power of the Void into the Sunwell. This did work, and we're now left with no option but this desperate march on the Isle of Quel'Danas. It was the elves who saved the day here, a coalition of Void, Blood, High, and Night Elves, and it's an arc that kicked off in the War Within's epilogue. It was called The Warning, and in it, Verisa Windrunner experiences the same sort of radiant world soul visions that Anduin and Thrall experienced at the beginning of The War Within. We saw an example of those in the big World Soul Saga cinematic the Blizzard did. But this time, she received visions of Silvermoon being attacked by the Void, and wielders of the light like Lothraxion actually burning in light-blinded fire. Spooky stuff. We were there for this, along with Arator, who had been following Verisa, who is of course his aunt. We ventured about Khazalgar, and as it turned out, being closer to the Coreway, and thus the World Soul, is what triggered that vision, and that's basically what led to us discovering that Silvermoon was Xal'atath's next target.
Yes. Did the Titans create the Naru? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows yet. We don't know the exact origin of the Naru. You gotta remember the Titan. I think a lot of people mistakenly affiliate the Titans with the Light. They're two different things. The Titans are about order. They're from Arcane. If you look at the big cosmology chart, the Light is its own thing. Now, do Naru seem like ordered light? Yeah, maybe. So that's why there's always that speculation that Naru are just Titan creations to control light, because they just want to control everything. It's possible. And I can still see that being a big story reveal that, oh yeah, the Naru aren't even natural beings of light. They're just Titan orderly created beings of light. Totally can see that happening. But the Titans are not necessarily on the side of the light. They just want order. If they can order the Void, they'll be on the side of the Void too. They don't give a shit. So we'll see how this whole light versus Void thing plays out as we head into the Last Titan.
That's absolutely huge. Basically, Azeroth gave us a little bit of a nudge. So, Arator, being the good old beacon of peace and unity and lovely things that he is, decided that what he needed to do was bring the Windrunner sisters back together. Because if the last decade has taught us anything, it is that this is World of Windrunners. So, Verisa was on board with this plan. She goes to rally the High Elves of the Silver Covenant, but some of the other groups were a bit of a harder sell. We went to Koresh with Arator to get Illyria to come and help, but she was too busy hunting Xal'atath, and that, of course, led to her fate at the Void Spire. But then we went after Sylvanas, and that is where the story, well, some would say gets off the rails. I think it's actually kind of interesting, and to understand why, we actually need to rewind. We need to rewind and go way back.
Ew, familiar.
Sylvanas Windrunner died defending Silvermoon. But Arthas did not give her the peace of a true death. She became the Banshee Queen of the Forsaken, who outlived the Scourge and transformed into the thing that she once fought. A murderous dictator. On the surface, we just thought she was a brutal but pragmatic sort of character. We may completely disagree with her means, but you could maybe see she was trying to fight for her people and maybe for herself. But in reality, it turned out that she was working for a sort of omnipotent god of the afterlife. And here's how that went down. Whenever Arthas died, Sylvanas tossed herself from the top of Icecrown Citadel. Basically, vengeance was got. What else does she have to live for? That's
this
it.
was peak
Just
Sylvanas
give me the
lore.
peace of death. She does not get the peace of death. Instead, she wakes up in the Maw. And she realizes, oh dear, it will be eternal torture for here on out.
Right.
That's fairly grim, but the good news for Sylvanas is that is when some Valkyr appeared, and with the sacrifice of one of those Valkyr, she was able to come back to Azeroth. But she wasn't the same. She was existentially traumatized, and she very much had a mission. It's a
She became basically what Xal'atath is right now, which she started chasing immortality. Right, she started chasing the ability to create more undead. She started chasing the ability to live forever. Garrosh, believe it or not, I don't know if this has been necessarily been retconned, but he had a problem with this. Right, he looked at Sylvanas and he was like, "The fuck you doing? You're literally becoming the Lich King." Remember when she did the whole thing where she showed him how to raise the undead and create more undead for her army and everything, and she was claiming that I'm doing this to help the Horde. And Garrosh called her a bitch. That voice line has since been literally taken out of the game, but he did. He called her a bitch, and he told her like, "What makes you different from the Lich King now?" And she, "Isn't it obvious? I serve the Horde," and he wasn't buying it. So she started a request for immortality, essentially, which is very much what Xal'atath's doing now. Interestingly enough,
Little unclear at what stage her mission
He did. He said
became
the B word.
ironclad, but the shortest way of putting it is this. The afterlife is a scam, and I'm going to destroy it. And that's ultimately
That's
why she
become her
ends up
mission
joining
now,
with
yes.
the jailer, Zoval, that god of death, and it's why she did all of those Battle for Azeroth things, pumping as many mortal souls into the maw as possible. You see, if the afterlife is just this big power plant for souls, then they can shove a bunch of souls into the power plant and then swipe all of the energy, which basically is the whole plan. She does that by becoming war chief and throwing Azeroth into the most pointless war the planet had probably ever seen. That was Battle for Azeroth. Shortly after,
Right.
she broke the Helm of Domination and launched us into the Shadowlands. We face-planted our way through 3 increasingly strange raid tiers, and it was at the end of Shadowlands' second raid that she took a bit of a shot at the jailer and very much found out that she was not his equal partner in crime. Of course, we end up defeating the jailer, but we're left with a problem. What do we do with Sylvanas? And as it turns out, she goes to the Maw on a long quest for redemption, trying to right her wrongs one soul at a time. Years go by. Years.
Right.
We're off doing other things. But then one day, the Void attacks the Maw. A portal opens, and Arator, her nephew, steps through this portal and tells her the Sunwell is threatened and that Silvermoon needs its Ranger General back. Sylvanas, having at least some self-awareness, tells Arator that Azeroth is really not ready for her return. But even more importantly, since her time in the Maw, she has discovered the Shadowlands, the whole construct of death, is a scam, deeper than she had ever imagined. She says it is too familiar, it is too ordered. And of course in Warcraft lore, ordered means built by the Titans. And you know what? That alone would be some pretty cool world building. But here it is a bit more than that. It is a hint to the A-plot that will dominate the rest of Midnight's story. And now we cut back to Quel'Danas. Because not only did Sylvanas save the day, she also gave us a warning. She tells us that her true work, her penance, has only just begun, and that penance no longer means just righting the wrongs of her time as war chief, but it also now means investigating and uncovering whatever the hell is actually going on in the Maw, in the Shadowlands, basically getting to the bottom of what she saw whenever she tossed herself off Icecrown Citadel all those years ago at the end of Wrath of the Lich King. So,
Right.
she tells us the Shadowlands are not all what they seem, and that she cannot rest until she uncovers the truth. So what the hell is...
what the hell's going on? And I think she's not coming back to the last Titan. I think that's pretty much guaranteed at this point. Did they ever explain how the players are able to die and come back all the time? I don't know. I think a lot of times when we die in this game, we're technically not all the way dead, and that's why we could still come back. We haven't crossed over just yet. Because we know that like a lot of the NPCs, the big time characters in WoW who are technically just like player characters, the Varians and the Sourfangs and all these guys, no, their souls did go to the afterlife. So I don't necessarily I think that we just don't die all the way. Maybe there's still just a tiny bit of us left that anchors us here. Because of Juan Samdi? Yeah, maybe. But I think that's the whole thing. It's like, well, we don't go all the way dead. When we do go all the way dead, then we go to the afterlife. Because clearly souls are going to the afterlife. Otherwise, the entire power system of the afterlife would be broken, right? All these souls going to the Maw. But people are going to the Maw. We've seen it. But I don't know. We get resurrected. We take our soul back to our own body every time.
going on? I've seen a lot of people look at this and think, oh,
Maybe it's
damn,
Azeroth,
cool moment,
maybe.
look at Sylvanas doing her aura farming. But I've also seen a lot of,
What if
what
we're
is
already
all this
dead?
vague posting about? Well, there's a lot of dots to connect, but when you do, it's fairly straightforward. So straightforward that we're literally told what's going to happen next. We march in Quel'Danas, we slay Belorn, child of Alar, and then it is down to the Sunwell, where once again we face off against a void-turned-Naru, in this case, Lura. And as far as the characters in our story are concerned, Lura is basically the promised apocalypse of the void. Everything seems lost, but then Sylvanas appears, and Xal'atath backs off. So, you may be wondering then,
just for the moment,
what did Xal'atath get out of doing any of this stuff? And why is she just floating about the place, dangling her feet at people, at vague posting and aura farming? The good news is, I can help answer those questions, so let me lay it out. Xal'atath corrupted the Sunwell, we failed to kill her, and that means that she is on to the next step of her plan. Sylvanas told us that the Shadowlands is a big old conspiracy, and that the whole thing is likely built by the Titans.
Yeah.
Of course, we can put that together given her past dialogue in patch 11.2.7.
Yeah.
And both of these storylines converge on one promise that we got in the middle of Dragonflight.
With this, the Harbinger will
Iridacron.
pry from their grasp. And when the Titans come to reclaim their prize, I will be waiting.
Yeah,
Yes,
we were literally
the
told
Iridacron
by one
plan.
of Xal'atath's mates that when the, quote, Harbinger tears the world soul from the Titans' grasp, that the Titans will return to claim their prize. Their prize is Azeroth, the Prime World, the key to their grand conspiracy to control reality.
Yeah.
Or, do whatever it is they want to do. We haven't exactly asked them yet. Of course, we know the Titans are going to return in The Last Titan, the next expansion set in Northrend. So it's Sylvanas' appearance at the Sunwell that brings these storylines together. On the one hand, Xal'atath gets what she wants. She gets access to the World Soul. You may be wondering how, and I guess the answer is through the machinery of death. The War of Men set up the Manifold, the whole big web of machinery that the Titans use to control Azeroth.
Right.
At its center is the World Core, and from lore drops such as this, which is a World Core fragment, we know that the World Core is connected to the ley lines. And if you were a good World of Warcraft player and played through the campaign with the audio turned on, you'd have heard a few characters mentioning ley lines. Now, we also know that the Sunwell is...
If you remember,
on
ley
a-
lines were a huge thing during Legion. If you were in Suramar, you had the whole ley lines quest. It was a big deal back then. So yeah, the ley lines everywhere, and they connect all these different important points for the World Soul.
particularly powerful nexus of ley lines. And that means it's literally hotwired into the Titan's Manifold, which is that whole network of
Like the
machines and
veins
stuff
of Azeroth, yeah.
that are also quite near a bunch of the ley lines. What Xal'atath just got, basically, is a way into that system. So while my first reaction was, interesting, Xal'atath went into the floor. Yeah, she went into the floor, but more specifically, ley lines underneath the floor. And that means
sense.
that void corruption is now coursing its way around the world. And that means that she can do what Iridacron promised she would do. Tear Azeroth from the Titan's grasp. By basically messing up their plans, messing up their manifold and all their machines, all those machines that we've been seeing literally since vanilla, and getting what she wants. Azeroth. So that is what we
makes
saw
sense.
in the March on Quel'Danas. Xal'atath does get one step closer to her goal, which is tearing the World Soul from the Titan's grasp. Presumably, she'll want to devour it, and in doing so, she'll basically secure her survival forever.
Yeah,
'Cause
she'll become immortal. I said this before, so she wants to kind of become a Titan. Titans are immortal, and that's her end goal is survival. So that makes sense. Use Azeroth to become kind of Titan-esque and become immortal.
she will have just kind of consumed reality in a way.
Yes, immortal.
So with that in mind, the narrative direction of WoW's A-plot should make a decent bit more sense to you. We can really see where it's all going. We're going to get Iridacron, Xal'atath, Titans, real big-scale stuff. And I'd say that's mostly going to be in the next expansion. You might be wondering then, what about the rest of this expansion? Well, I'd say there's still quite a lot to explore. Illyria and Turalyon are, in the Darkwell, I guess. We're probably going to work something out with them. And we were also told that this expansion...
Are the Titans really immortal? We aren't really sure. Maybe that's why, well, I mean, I guess we don't know if they live forever. We know they live a really, really, really long time. I mean, they've been around since the very beginning and before the beginning. So, Yeah, they can reform, right? I mean, literally, Sargeras killed his siblings, and they just reform in their arcane nether, whatever you want to call it, and then come back. So they have the ability to regenerate. We know that. You can't really kill them. I guess you can kill them in their own plane, kind of like the way demons and dreadlords work and all that other shit. You got to kill them where they come from. And we saw with the whole thing that happened with God, what's his name? The world soul that we destroyed, Argus. Right, we kill Argus. The whole reason why Shadowlands broke the construct is his soul, which was not supposed to go where it went to the afterlife, and basically broke the Arbiter. And this was all the Jailer's plan and all that other shit. Whatever you want to say about it, Titans are supposed to be able to come back. Now he's just a world soul. He wasn't a full blown Titan, so that's also another piece of weird kind of lore that, okay, what happens to a world soul when it dies? Well, I guess its soul goes to the afterlife, unlike a Titan. But eventually they're supposed to be able to become a Titan, maybe? We're going to figure all this shit out in The Last Titan, basically.
Would be the ultimate clash between light and void. We've seen spooky light stuff, we've dealt with the void, and that probably means that some of our future patches are going to be dealing with the light. I, for one, hope that means lots of Draenei. So, I hope this has tied things together for you, and if you want to watch something next, it's actually not one of the videos that I published within the last few weeks. No, it is the 11.2.7 campaign. You've almost certainly missed it. It was the epilogue at the end of The War Within. But seriously, it does so much work setting all this up, and if you want to experience it, watch this video next.
Nice. Yeah, good overall video. That's kind of where the lore stands right now, right? Xal'atath goes underneath. She's probably going to the World Soul of Azeroth, gonna pull it away like Iridikron said, and then the Titans are gonna come back to retake the planet, and then we see what happens then. Overall, it seems to all be heading in the direction kind of that we predicted, and I like the raid tier. I thought the storytelling was pretty cool. Sylvanas coming back. Yeah, did I need it? No, I didn't need it, but it happened. And I guess we're kind of at a cliffhanger next. We'll see what happens going forward. Nice video from Valular.